I'm getting ready to cut the plywood, and I made myself a little drawing here of what that piece of plywood's going to look like out here, and I laid it out from that corner. That is not square to the plywood, and so this point I know is, and I measured straight across, and these are all 16" on center. Boom, 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 boom. So what I did is, this is going to be the edge of the sheet of the plywood, and then it's going to go out that way. So I measured out 4 feet out to there, 48 inches, and 48 inches from here. I couldn't do it. It's like, how am I going to measure out these corners? Because I don't know if this corner is perfectly square to this piece of plywood. This corner as well, okay? So now that I've got my line down there, now I can measure from that line over and then back this way, and then I can measure off of the line back this way to here to see what this corner is, and then go from there and do my measures. Okay, and then I'm going to go out and cut the plywood. I'll bring it in here and I'll lay it in here rough and check out the cut. I'm not going to glue it and get ready to nail it, you know, and then try to put it into place and find out, oh shoot, I should have shaved off a little bit more around that corner or something, you know. So it's okay, you can cut your plywood, especially if you're getting started. You can cut your plywood first and then bring it up in here and check out the marks and do all that kind of stuff, because I might even leave this. Remember that edge is going to be long, right? I might even just leave that long, and then I can, if I'm going to set this piece up here rough the first time, I mainly want to make sure that this corner is going to fit in there and I don't have to do any shaving to it, and this one. And then once I do that, once I know these two are okay, I can just underscribe that with my pencil, right? Take it back out there and cut it. I could do it that way too. All right. Getting ready to cut the plywood. Now let's take a look at this plywood real quick. Plywood nowadays, they have lines on it where you got it up there. If you're nailing it off, these are kind of guides. So if your floor joist is here, you can nail it and say, okay, it's about 3 inches, 2.5 inches off of that line straight up. And mainly for roofs and floors and, you know, different things. I guess mainly floors. Well, this is floors because it's tongue and groove. And tongue and groove, by that, what I mean is, see there? That's a groove. That goes all the way down. And then on the other side, there's the tongue. See? That's a tongue right there. And that goes all the way down. And now there's a smooth side to this and a rougher side. This is slightly rougher than the other side. The other side's smoother. And I'm opting to use the heavy, the thick side facing up, because I'm going to put a sealer over this, and I want that sealer to really bond on here. And I'll probably put some primer on it first, and I'm going to almost kind of act as though it's like a flat roof, and seal it all that way, and it's going to stick on there. It's going to bond a little bit easier. Plus, with the nice slick surface on the back side, if I happen to get any moisture underneath the floor, maybe it won't stick on there as much because it won't have any place to grab. I'm not anticipating having any problems with it, but in any case, I'm choosing to leave the rough side up, because when I prime it, I'm going to go ahead and prime it too. It's not that big of a of an area, so it's not gonna be that difficult. And so I'll probably put 2 coats of primer on there. That's gonna fill up a little bit of these very faint grooves and seal that. And then when I put my flooring, my roof mastic, it's not roof mastic, it's this other stuff that I roll on there, it's gonna really bond tight on that. And I'm gonna put probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 coats on there, see how well it does. And that's what I've decided to do. I was like, what should I do? What should I do? Should I put that side facing up? Should I have the smooth side facing up? You know, normally I would have the smooth side facing up, but for this particular purpose, I'm opting not to do that. And so I've got to cut, when I measure this, I have to cut my tongue off on that side, because I'm going to leave the groove left. That way the groove's going to be, all the joists are going this way, and so there's a gap between each joist, you know, 14.5-inch gap, and the tongue of the next piece will fit into that, and it will bond. It'll bridge that gap. I won't have to put any blocks in there. On the ends, I might have to. We'll have to take a look at that, because I'm not sure if I can squeeze the other piece in there in between the column, because there's only a little rip left, and I'm not sure if I can tilt the other piece up at enough of an angle to get it in there. You know, that one's going to be kind of tricky, I think, but we're going to see if we can do it. If not, I may have to cut it in a couple spots, put a block in there, or do something. We'll see. But that's just what I wanted to show you, and I thought that's kind of good. They didn't used to do this painting. Looks like they painted that gray on there, and it's kind of a slick surface, and they also did it on the groove. And I think the reason why they did that is so that that groove is going to slip in there a little bit easier. So once I cut it, I'll have to make sure that this groove isn't marked up anyway, and I'm going to go from there. Okay, so see, this is going to be for me standing at the deck looking out into the new area, which means I've got to cut this little tongue off of this side, and then I'll do all my measuring from here, or from my chalk line. I've got all my measurements here, and I've taken the measurements from the chalk line, because I know that's where I have to go in order to go down to make those notches and stuff. Okay, so anyways, just wanted to tell you a little bit about tongue and groove flooring. They even have this stuff. I've even put it up on floors an inch and an eighth, I think it was an inch and an eighth thick, and then it can span further. It can span further than 16 inches. But I'm matching existing conditions, and this was 3/4 inch, and so that's what I'm going to use. Okay, I've got this all screwed down, and it took a little bit to get the cuts and stuff, because the stucco is out, the outside corner is out further on both sides, so it kind of swaled in. This line, the existing line, was slightly bowed, so I had to straighten that up with my saw, and I got it notched in there. It looks pretty good, huh? This I ended up having to move just a little bit, and remember I thought this side there was going to be about 3/4 of an inch hanging over. Well, there was actually 1 inch hanging over, so that lined up pretty close. And it was tricky. It was tricky because I wanted to put liquid nails, construction adhesive, underneath here, and I'm like, how can I do this by myself? So I took some blocks, some little 2x6 blocks, before I put the plywood down, and I screwed them on the side of 2 joists, this one and this one down here, and I had them sticking up about 7 inches. And then I had 2 other ones over here. I did the same thing, but first I brought the piece in here, slid it in and leaned it down on these 2. Then I had to go underneath the house. I can't get down there anymore. I had to go at the end of the house and get underneath, and then I had to push the other 2 blocks up 7 inches, screw those in. That was tricky. And then I had to take the liquid nails underneath there, and then I had 7/8 or 7 inches gap, and then I was able to put the liquid nail under there 3/4 of the way, and then I climbed back up here, and I reached under over here, did it all over here. Then I ran back underneath the house, undid the blocks that I had up high, lowered the plywood down onto the glue. If I had 2 people here, I could have just tilted this up, stood back here beyond the line, and then did each one of those, and then went out that way, and then the person could have been holding it over there, could have set it down, then we could have lifted that side up just a little bit, this side, and then got the last little bit. But I was here by myself doing it. So is it possible? Is it possible to do things on your own? Man, this thing was heavy too. Okay, so now I've got the groove, the groove right here. So I've got to take the next piece and I've got to measure. I got to measure it, and I'm hoping after I notch it and stuff, I'm hoping that I can raise it up, that this is high enough, at this angle to then slide in here. I may have to cut it short there so I can slide it down. I'm gonna have to see, because I really don't want to put a block in here. I'd have to cut, see if I can't get it, I'd have to cut this tongue on the other sheet right through here so that I could tilt this side of the plywood up higher to shove it in here, but not have the tongue inside of here. If that's the case, if I had to do that, then I'll have to get back underneath the house, put a block under here, right here, and right here, so that I've got some backing there, because you're not supposed to span this stuff like that, without having a block underneath it. That's why there's the tongue, and I'm hoping beyond hope that I can get it. And how else could I do that? There's no real other way I could do it unless I were to cut the piece and cut the whole thing and then cut it in half here, and then slide this piece over far enough, put the tongue in, and then tap it all the way over there. But see, I want to get liquid nails down on top of this too, the construction adhesive. So I'm going to have to cut it. That might take me a few cuts to wedge it down in there to see how much I'm going to have to cut it off there. And if I got a little gap there, that's okay. I can fill that up with some stuff after the fact. Okay, so now I can do everything from up here. See that next sheet's an 8-foot sheet. I'm just going to start at that end, and the seam's going to be right here, and then I'll have to piece in a piece here. But see, I won't need a tongue and groove here, will I? I can just cut a long piece and flip it the other direction. This stuff is not directional, okay? It's got lines because most of the time people are gonna put it this way. okay? But you can make rips. You can make rips the very opposite way, so I don't have to like continue this piece over and have a little groove there, and then a little piece of a tongue on this little piece. No, I can just cut a long strip there. See? Okay, but I can't do that here because I want that tongue right here, so it fits right in that groove. Okay, I better start measuring and see what I can do.